Hey guys, it's Superstar0717. I have in front of you a couple of Pokemon cards. I thought I'd try to go ahead and share some of my knowledge about the Pokemon trading card game with some of my fellow Magic the Gathering and Yu-Gi-Oh subscribers. Maybe you guys might be interested in switching to this game. I know there are a lot of complaints with Yu-Gi-Oh players about the price of the game and things such as that. For example, I mean, in Yu-Gi-Oh you can buy one tour guide for like $165, or you can buy a really competitive Pokemon deck for $165. And obviously in Yu-Gi-Oh you have to spend more than just the money for one tour guide. And that was the biggest issue for me. So for those of you that are new to the game, let's go ahead and explain the cards, explain how to play, and things such as that. So right here I have in front of you a basic Pokemon. You can see it's the basic Pokemon by that basic symbol right there. You'll have the card name, the hit points, which are the amount of damage that needs to be done to it to be knocked out. Its type, which is right there. It is an electric type Pokemon. The attacks that it can do, right there. Let me go and see if I can get it to focus. You'll have its weakness, its retreat. So its weakness is ×2 to fighting, its resistance, and its retreat cost. And then just some flavor text about the Pokemon in general. In order to retreat a Pokemon, you'll attach an energy onto it and pay the retreat cost. So if it's a retreat cost of 2, you'd have to have 2 energies on it and send those energies to the discard pile to retreat it. For weakness, let's say I'm fighting a fighting type Pokemon. If the Pokemon does 10 damage to my Dynamo, the damage would be multiplied by 2, which is indicated by the weakness symbol, fighting ×2. So if you did 10, the damage weakness would come into effect, and they would do 20 instead. Similarly, if it was 30, it would do 60, and etc., etc. So basic Pokemon are similar in Yu-Gi-Oh to Pokemon that are level 4 and lower. You can play them on the field. You have your active Pokemon, and then 5 spots. If this is your active, you have 5 spots right here where you can put other basic Pokemon. They obviously, they can evolve in other Pokemon, which is what we're going to talk about next. So you have your basic Pokemon. You need them in every deck, and they're pretty much what you start out the game with, no matter what. Okay, so up next you'll have what's called the Stage 1 Pokemon. It's indicated once again by that symbol up there. It says Stage 1. It'll have a picture of the Pokemon that it evolves from, and text that'll say the Pokemon name it evolves from. I know there are a bunch of Pokemon out there, and it's kind of hard to memorize them all, especially if you haven't played the actual cartridge game in a long time. Once again, you'll have the HP, the typing, the attacks, the weakness. This one has a 2 retreat cost, which is colorless. And he'll have an attack. I mean, all Pokemon have attacks. And for his, for 2 lightning energy and any type of energy, which is 3 total, it'll do 50 damage. And this one has an ability. Now its ability states, once during your turn before you attack, you may attach a lightning energy from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. And I know this is kind of hard to read because of the way they do the foiling now, but I guess you just have to work with me on that one. And his hit points are 90. And so to evolve them, you'll have your Dynamo on the field. You have to have it on the field for a full turn. And after it's been on the field for a full turn, which means I'll have my turn, I'll bench Dynamo, my opponent will go, comes back to me. I will layer it on top of it, and it's now electric. Any damage that was on it is still on it. So let's say Dynamo had 20 damage on him. I'll evolve him, and he'll have 70 hit points remaining instead of the 90. And he can, whatever is the top card, you can only use those attacks and those abilities unless the card states otherwise. And so that's how evolving works in the game. Similarly, if I had the Stage 2, which is Electros, I'd evolve it, or bench it, wait a turn, evolve it, wait a turn, and then go up to Stage 2. Now there are cards that somewhat let you mitigate that rule, such as Rare Candy, which lets you go straight from the basic to the Stage 2 after waiting a turn, but I don't have any Rare Candies on me, and that's, a different deck style, but I will talk about that in the future. So you have your Stage 1, Stage 2. So, how do you attack in this game? Attacks are all, if you've ever played Magic, it's similar to mana, except for in Magic, the mana is just kind of like a general area. In Pokemon, you attach energy to one Pokemon. So for example, let's say I started out the game with a Dynamo. I could attach my lightning energy to Tynamo and do tackle for 10 damage. And so that's how energy works. You just attach them on there once per turn. Obviously there's cards that kind of let you accelerate that, such as Pachirisu, but in general you have one energy attachment per turn, and you can use those to retreat, you can use those to attack, you can use those for abilities and things like that. And so that's just a basic energy. You can have as many of these in your deck as you want. And every card in your deck, it's a limit of 4. I know in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's 3, in Magic it's 4, in Pokemon it's also 4. So I can have 4 Dynamos and 4 Electrics. Now with the numbering rule of 4, it is of the named cards. So for example, I play 2 different kinds of Dynamo in my deck. I could not have 4 of these and 4 of these. Since they are the same name, I would do 2 and 2, or 3 and 1, or 3 and 1, any combination of 4 for that. So we have our stage 1, our energy. Okay, and up next we're going to talk about special energies. Now, special energies have the same rule where you can only play 4 of them in the deck, and they'll do different things. I know you have rainbow energy that provides any kind of energy. Right here I have a double colorless energy. What double colorless energy do? Obviously it provides double colorless energy. You can attach them once per turn, and so an example of something that would use a double colorless energy, let's see if I can find it real quick. So let's say I had my Zekrom active, it's a basic Pokemon, and I wanted to do Outrage. I would take my double colorless energy and attach it to Zekrom, and then do Outrage for 20. Or I could retreat it by attaching the double colorless, pay its 2 retreat costs, so send this to the discard, and retreat it for, let's just say, a Tynamo. If I really needed to, I can retreat it for a Tynamo. Okay, so we have that. And now we're going to talk about trainers and supporters. So in Yu-Gi-Oh! Trainers and supporters, I guess they would be similar to spell and traps in a sense. Everything is played from your hand, and a trainer you can play as many times as you want per turn. So if I had 3 junk arms in my hand, or if I just had 3 trainers in my hand, I can play a trainer, resolve it, another trainer, resolve it, another trainer, resolve it. One thing about Pokemon is that it doesn't have a, there's no such thing as chain 1, chain 2, chain 3, things like that. Or the stack in Magic. There's none of that. It's just you play your trainer, it resolves, and that's it. Which is another reason why I like this game a little bit more. I think my buddy Steve put it best, is that in Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic and everything like that, every deck kind of has a strategy and a story to tell. And pretty much oftentimes in Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic, that story is interrupted by, mana leaks or trap cards, and you don't really get to show your deck strategy. In Pokemon, at least, a good number of the time, you'll get to do your strategy and kind of have your uninterrupted turns, because there's no such thing as trap cards or things that your opponent can play on your turn. And so your turn is your turn, obviously, and you do get to show your deck strategy. Of course, you could draw shitty, but in general, you do get to kind of play out your deck and see how it works, and I really like that about the game. There's no OTKs, there's no FTKs. There is kind of an FTK, but it's not like a huge deal in the game where you just get FTK'd like crazy. You do have the ZPST deck, but once again, we'll talk about that later. So you have your trainers, you can play as many of those as you want per turn, and you have what's called a supporter. Now, supporters have a clause that say you can only play 1 supporter card each turn. They're very powerful cards, obviously. You can only play 1 per turn. You can still have 4 of them in your deck. There's no such thing as a limited/ban list in Pokemon. It's done by rotation. So right now we're on Heart Gold, Soul Silver on rotation. And I'll put a link down below of what sites are legal for play if you guys want me to. So this one says, search your deck for 3 basic Pokemon, show them to your opponent, put them in your hand, and shuffle. So obviously a great card, you get to look through your deck for any card, any 3 basic Pokemon, add them to your hand. So it's an excellent card. Now, when I first started playing, and a couple of other friends of mine, there was actually a confusion we had about the cards. If you look right here on Juniper, it's a trainer supporter. So, cards like Junk Arm state, discard 2 cards from your hand, search your discard pile for a trainer card. So, a couple of my friends, they didn't know that you cannot Junk Arm for a trainer supporter. Basically, if it says supporter anywhere on the card, and has this clause, you can only play 1 supporter card during your turn, it's a supporter, not a trainer. I believe trainer is just kind of like a broad term that includes any non-energy/non-Pokemon card. I don't know the official ruling on why some say trainer supporter. I think it's just kind of I don't know, I guess it's just something that the card company was doing. And so just know that. Real quick, I'm going to show you guys just kind of a sample first turn of how to play Pokemon. Let me just go ahead and move this over here onto the side of the map. So you'll take your 60 card deck and shuffle it up. Obviously I'm not going to like shuffle too intensely because we're at 10 minutes and I don't want to make this video too long. Okay, so just know that you'll play 60 card deck. No more, no less. I know in Yu-Gi-Oh! I think it's like unlimited, same with Magic, it just has to be a minimum of 40, minimum of 60. Okay, so here's my deck, I'm just going to put it up here off screen. So you start by drawing 7 cards. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I started out with 2 basic Pokemon. Okay, so in Pokemon you'll have your face down, active, and up to 5 bench cards. So I know this isn't going to fit on the screen because I didn't bring my other tripod, sorry about that. So you can bench as many cards as you want. So let's say I opened up with 6 basics and 1, I guess like 1 energy. I could bench all 6 of them. You just have your 1 active, and let's just say I had 2 more. You'll have 3 on the bench. Okay, so the game starts. Your opponent will also have his active and basic and bench Pokemon, all basics, face down. Once you have decided that you have a hand that has a basic, so you just go through it. If you don't, you show it to your opponent, you shuffle back up, draw 7, and he draws an extra card, which is called a mulligan. And the mulligans are not similar to Magic. I know in Magic you can mulligan whenever you want, and you'll just draw 1 less card. In Pokemon, you can only mulligan when you don't have a basic. So once both you and your opponent have your basics, and like I said, if he doesn't have a basic, you have to draw an extra card. You'll take the top 6 cards of your deck. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you're going to put them over onto the prize zone. So let me do that real quick. Okay, and you'll roll for your roll to see who goes first, and let's say I won that roll. So I'm going to flip my cards over, and just know there's a Zekrom right there and a Zekrom right there. And you draw a card for turn. Okay? So on the first turn you can play, whatever you want. You can play your trainers, your supporters, things like that. Let's just say I'm going to attach an energy to my Zekrom. And then play my supporter, which is Juniper, which discards my hand and draws me a new 7. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then I'm going to bench my Tynamo. And so, actually, let me just put my supporter up there. So I played my supporter for the turn. So here's what my field looks like. I have my Zekrom with the energy, my supporter, my 2 basics. Now you do not have to do this, I just do it just for clarity's sake. I have my discard pile, my deck, and my prize zone. Now to win the game, you have to knock out 6 Pokemon on your opponent's side of the field. Or deck them out, or, leave them with no Pokemon to defend themselves. So let's say my opponent was playing Tynamo. So he has this Tynamo over here. Okay, so that's his field. He just has 1 Tynamo. And right now I have a Zekrom that can do 20 damage, which isn't enough to kill Tynamo because Tynamo has 30 HP. But let's go ahead and play that plus power. So we're going to play the plus power, send it to the discard pile. Now Zekrom's Outrage, if you don't know what plus power does, it does 10 extra damage. Your attacks will do 10 extra damage. So his Outrage can do 30, and it'll knock out Tynamo. Now let's just say he has, let's just say he has another Pokemon on the bench. Okay, so let's say I have my Zekrom right here, my imaginary Zekrom. He has his Tynamo and his Zekrom, and I have my Zekrom. So my Zekrom's Outrage is going to do 30, which is enough to knock out his Tynamo. So let me just check my hand to make sure I don't want to do anything else. I really can't because I've already attached my energy. So I'm going to Outrage, knock out his Tynamo, sending it to his discard pile, and I'll take one of my prizes. So, and he'll have to promote his new Pokemon. So I'll be left with 5 prizes. My setup, this will go to the discard because your turn ends after you attack. So your turn consists of playing 1 supporter, attaching 1 energy, and playing as many only 1 supporter. So 1 supporter, unlimited trainers, 1 energy, and evolving Pokemon and whatnot. So that's kind of just a sample first turn. So I knocked out his Tynamo. I drew my prize. Let's say I knocked out 5 more Pokemon. I'd draw a prize every time I knocked out a Pokemon until I had 0 prizes. So once my prizes run out, I am declared the winner of the game, and I'm just won the game. And so that's pretty much it. So there's no such thing as OTKs. It takes you like, at least if you have the kind of the engine going, it takes you 6 turns, knock out 6 Pokemon, which leads to epic comebacks in Pokemon, things like that. So that's pretty much how to play the Pokemon trading card game. If you have any questions, obviously there's a lot more in-depth stuff. This is just kind of just a general thing for non-Pokemon players to maybe be interested in the game or not. Like I said, it's a lot cheaper than Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, things like that. And it's really fun. So if you guys have any questions or need me to explain anything else or want me to do anything else like that, I'd be more than happy to. I'm finally done with school for the semester, so I can do pretty much anything you guys want. And I think that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. Rate, comment, subscribe. Peace.